Welcome back, everybody. Here we are for some more chess. This time I'm white down on the bottom, and this game is a funny mixture of being really long and yet really quick. So let's just get this thing underway. It's still part of the Fried Liver series, so the game came to me in this position. So it was my turn, here's how the game started, and it was up to me to decide how I want to play. Last video we talked about the difference between having white take with the horse or white take with the bishop. And last game we saw that he went bishop against us, so I'm going to order my videos in a way that makes sense between one video to the next. And this time I'm going to take with the bishop as well, and see how this works out for me in my favor. He defends the opposite move that I did. I pushed my king up, he's pushing his king to the side, and then instead of me putting my bishop on this nice little pivot square, I run all the way back down to force him that if he is interested in this bishop, he's going to have to take 2 moves to get it, and I will then use those 2 moves to help develop myself further instead. I'm just going to leave it at that and try and play chess from here on out, because again, I wasn't happy that I was forced into these fried liver starts, but so be it. That's the lemons that life gave us. He pushes up his pawn, opens up a line for his light squared bishop, and attacks the center. And I'm thinking, well, if there's definitely combinations where once this horse goes to take a pawn, then his queen's going to be revealed after that, and then I'll have to push to save my horse and this and that. And he's definitely got the numbers, he's got the advantage in these squares. I'm just going to further try and simplify. If I can get rid of some of his pieces that are pushed up, the advantage that he has for me having this sort of start is that he's got more space and more pieces out. So if I can trade a couple of them out of the way, that'll favor me. If I can make him waste a whole bunch of time, maybe I can get back and sort of reclimb that ladder as far as the development in space goes. Even though the computer thinks I'm ahead, we both kind of know a little bit better at this point. This move, I think it's a little subpar. I mean, it's a nice little pivot square as far as defense is concerned. Again, he is attacking that bishop, and I'm just going to say, you know what, I don't care about that bishop. Yeah, it's defending this pawn, but so what? I take this turn to castle, because I don't want any sort of shenanigans going on with him going after this pawn down here, or anything in regards to him, maybe taking some sort of piece and then getting some sort of forks, or I don't know. I just castled for safety, so I can start playing some chess. I wasn't too concerned. I'm aware that I'm going to be dropping this pawn, and I just want to start to make sure that I'm not going to drop more, I guess is really what it is. So he then drops the pawn, as I expected. I could proceed to take if I wanted, but then he's just going to take again as well. It's really one of those is going to go, and I'm hoping that he rather just takes the trade there instead and force the trade to be on his turn as opposed to the trade being on my turn. So I open up a little bit of space and a little bit of defense for me. Makes a nice trap, a little tiny bit of a poison horse right there, in case he wants to take it with his queen, but he doesn't. So he offers the trade now, which is fine. So instead of me trading on my time and him having his choice of which piece to take, I got a little bit of extra space and development during the time, and the end result is the same net material, so that's fine. I've now opened up an extra line. I've got a little bit more space than I had before. It's 2 pieces and a pawn to 1 piece, and defensible pawns out here, but now I've got a little bit more room to work with than I had before. Just about everything has somewhere to go. Whereas he's only got really 1.5 pieces because this queen can't go or accomplish anything from here. So I'm feeling pretty good at this point. He decides to run his bishop back and get 2 attacks to only 1 defensible piece, and this is where I start to take over. The benefit of me moving the bishop up and taking this piece, and the downside of him moving his king over there, and besides blocking in his own rook, is that this is a nice open file now. I'm going to capitalize on that with my queen, and now I have a couple of pieces coordinating on this one square, which could potentially be havoc. If he runs here, it's just game over. I suppose he could try and block it with the bishop, but then he's not able to take that piece as he so wanted earlier. So he's going to run into a little bit of trouble. He runs his king out of the way. and it's tempting. I could possibly move my horse here and go after a major fork, but I'm looking for a little bit more than just an exchange on a fork. Plus, that's a lot of time loss as well, and I'm looking for a little bit more. So I decide to throw my queen all up in his face. He's got to move the king. He can't do anything about taking it, so that's going to force him to go here. What's guarding this horse? The queen's guarding his horse. Okay. Well, let's remove that because he's got to move. And that allows me to now take his horse for free. So a free piece is a little bit better than an exchange. Not much, but it's a little bit better. And it got me some extra position as well. So there were just a lot of good combinations I was able to capitalize in there and really just kind of force him into a bad spot. Plus, now he's also blocking in his bishop. And because of the check, he still can't go ahead and take this. So he's going to be forced to move his king yet again. And I'm thinking, alright, I messed up your position, and I took a piece, and you just spent a bunch of time bouncing around. Now I'm going to take your queen. If he takes with the king, then my horse continues to go in here and essentially just ruin his day. But he takes it with the bishop, and that's just fine. That's what he needed to do at this point. And here we are, folks. There goes the opening, and all hell has broken loose. I've got more space. I've got more pieces developed. I've got more pieces overall in material. And he's just kind of got punched in the mouth, and I just need to keep the pressure up and keep it going until I can find a way to win this game. It just takes me a while to figure that out, unfortunately. I put some pressure on this pawn. This guy's still nice and defended, so he's still not free. I made sure that that's still there. So this pawn's isolated and it's advanced. If I can clear this pawn out, he literally has nothing developed at that point. And without having pawns in its adjacent files, he doesn't have a great way of really defending it either. So his only option is moving his bishop to a slightly awkward square where it's just stuck babysitting some pawns and it's not accomplishing anything. So I'm going to put more pressure on this pawn now, just because I can. He can't take it because of the pin, and if he doesn't respond to the pin, I can put even more pressure on it with a pawn of my own and really just start to get in his way and really ruin his day. He decides to move his king directly forward. I don't know why. I guess he wants to develop his rook somewhere, and he can't move there because of the horse, and he doesn't want to move there because it blocks the bishop. Maybe move there? I don't know. I think this was just a really weak move. I don't quite know why, but I wouldn't want to be in his position and figure out what else he had to do either. Maybe chase the horse away and then chase the bishop away. I don't know, but that's what he saw. That's what he liked. So no big deal. Because of this scenario, however, there's nothing really defending this piece once the bishop moves. So I'm figuring that if I take his pawn and offer up the fact that he can take this horse, I will then have a discovered attack with this straight line onto his king. I can take this pawn as well with check and into taking the rook. So this pawn is essentially free for me, and that'll be great. I'll obviously be able to take this pawn directly or go back to defense of my knight, should I so choose, either one of them coming with a discovered attack. Yeah, this guy is a little weak right here, but I'm not too terribly concerned about it. He is a backward pawn. So he's the least important pawn on the field right now, except for maybe that guy. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, he is. So anyway, he realizes that he can't take the horse, and it's just kind of an ugly situation with the discovered check. He's probably going to lose at least one other pawn somewhere if he doesn't respond, so he just takes the trade. It doesn't benefit him, mind you. It's not a good trade, but it saves him from losing another pawn somewhere, depending on how he wanted to play that. So he's kind of trying to stop the bleeding, cut his losses where he can. And he's thinking, hey, there's two unprotected pieces out here. Actually, the horse is protected, never mind. But he's going to go after my rook, and I've got free reign to move the rook wherever I want on this file. And still be defending the horse, but I decide he just lost his dark square bishop, so I'm not afraid of opening this dark diagonal for my king. Let's push my pawns forward, take up more space, keep the pressure on, and he can't get rid of this. He literally can't. This pawn is not going to get there. I mean, I guess maybe it could after multiple turns, but being on a dark square, it's just, he's in trouble. He's got no space. So now he is starting to finally go after my horse. I'm alright with that. I've got a good little pivot square right in the middle where he's got lots of strong options as far as squares to go to that can just attack all over the field. It's pretty fantastic. Puts him in check, and now he blocks in this pawn, so he still can't come after me. That works out just fine as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to take this time now. I finally, 21 moves in, develop my second horse into the game to try and get this guy playing as well. Pretty much just going to target that guy. Hell, actually, I'd probably be better off going here so I can target both of them. I suppose that would be smarter. He develops a bishop down, connects his rooks, and I don't really care if you take this horse. He's guarded by both my other knight and by a pawn and by a rook, so he's good to go. And I opt just to move this knight over and go after this piece, pawn. On second thought, yeah, now I see that this square may have been the better one to go to. It feels a little more awkward, more out of the way, so maybe it's not. I'm not quite sure. And he opts to take. I probably should take with my pawn, give me a nice pawn duo, really dominate these central squares, give my knight some defense, really block him off from having any sort of foothold. But I want to develop my rooks on this open file and double them up, and really kind of try and start making a difference here, because if they're doubled up, he's going to be forced to having his guys both able to respond to doubled rooks, and then my horse will have free reign to just jump all over the place and start pushing some pawns and really take control over things. So it's probably the worst of the two moves, whether taking it with the rook or taking it with the pawn. But I chose the rook just because I wanted to keep this file, whereas if I move this over, yeah, I get a nice pawn duo in the middle. It's really strong, but then my rooks aren't quite connected. They're just in awkward spots as far as where the open files reside. So I went that route. He pushes after my knight to chase it away somewhere. I'm mostly just wasting time with this check. He can't go after it, so I'm not too concerned. But it's also not really accomplishing anything there either, so it's mostly just wasting time. I didn't want to run backward. Now I develop and double up my rooks, so this knight is totally good to go. He attacks it, that's nice, I don't care. What are you going to do about it? You're not going to take it because you can't take it back. So I get a pawn duo over here instead, sealing off his king from advancing at all. If he wants to make any sort of pressure on them, I've got reinforcement pawn. And now I just need to find a way to simplify this board a little bit and just have these pawns start crashing down to win the game. And that's really where I'm going to be looking at from now on. So he brings this rook over to no avail, just taking some space. That's about all he can do. Wow, plus 11 to plus 7? So this is a terrible, terrible move, apparently. Huh, I wonder what I'm missing. I must be missing something good. But I don't know what. Oh well. So I retreat my knight away, see if we can't work some trades out into here, which is exactly what we get. Get some trades. So the file is still mine. These pawns are not going anywhere. I still have all the space. I'm totally blocking him off in that regard. And he's just sort of developing, I guess, to prevent that pawn from being a target. I guess. He's kind of in a bad spot. I'm now advancing my king up more towards the center of the board. That'll help me win these pawn battles, especially since I have his king blocked into this tiny little quadrant over here. It's not even a quadrant, it's a third rint, I guess, if that's not even a word. And so once I get my king up in here, I'll be able to work some sort of exchange out with these rooks, and then just kind of dominate the space and time and material from there. So he's pushing up his pawns, mostly just playing quiet moves. He doesn't really have anything to do that's productive. He has to hope that I blunder a piece at this point, which is not going to happen. So I'll block off his next squares, wherever it is that he wants to move with my extra pawn. That's just fine. He retreats his king, gets some extra defense on this square, I suppose. He doesn't really have much to do. I further better the position of my own king, and he's just bouncing around. So I move my rook all the way down here, just because I can. Maybe he wants to go there and just continue to bounce back and forth. I'm going to be looking to target his backward pawns at some point, forcing his rook just to stay on babysitting duty. So that's exactly what he does and exactly what I do. So now his rook is literally accomplishing nothing, and his king is literally accomplishing nothing, and his pawns are accomplishing less than nothing. If he advances there, it could even give me a chance to push and excel, or it just gives me reinforcements, because now he's the most worthless pawn. Maybe it's still him, not quite sure. So there's just not a whole lot he can do. He's now going back and forth. It's like he's trying to get perpetual check or something, or perpetual moves for a draw, except I'm just advancing my position all over the place. Again, he's still moving his king because he's got nothing to move. Like, I guess I don't really blame him. What are you supposed to do? But he's giving me infinite time to do whatever. I'm tired of it, so I'm going to put him in check and make him go somewhere else. Targeting after this pawn now. I think part of it is I just got sick of, I don't know what to do. We're not getting anywhere. It's going to take me forever to push all my pawns up, and that's just so much thinking. I just don't want to think. I want to just win this game at this point. So I throw my pieces away. I take a pawn, and I take his rook for my horse and my rook. So I do lose a tiny bit there, but he's got 4 pawns and a king, and I've got a lot more than that. And I've got the center of the board. His king can't touch any of these squares because of my pawns and such, or that one, or that. His king can go here, in theory, if he could actually get his way up there. But other than that, he's totally blocked off. Anything that he wants to push is just going to get captured, and then it's just going to make things even worse for him. I'm just totally sealing off the entire board from him. He's moving back and forth, and I've just got this nice huge line. I'm slowly... Cayman, is this what you wanted? Me to slowly and methodically squeeze the life out of people? That's what you said you wanted me, right? To play stall? So there we go. Now I'm stalling until I finally have a full line. I'm going to push his king back by putting him in check. He's got a couple options he can go, really. He pushes up down to there. I now proceed to progress down here. So if he wants to push, I can either take and carry on from there, or I can push up again and get a nice pawn duo and shut off a whole new line. He runs further away, and now that he's retreated a full row, my king is going to move up a row and again block off his king squares and push him back even further until I move all these other pawns up here, slope probably right here, to which then if he takes, I take, or if he just pushes, then fine, these guys will be landlocked for forever, and then I can just push these 2 pawns up slowly, retreat his king, push my king up, and just choke the squares away from him. But this is where he ended up finally conceding, realizing that there's nothing else he could do. He pretty much didn't even do anything the last 12 moves of the game. So this was a 46 turn game, which I think is my longest game that since we've been recording, and yet it's an 18-minute video. So it's a really long game that went really quick. There wasn't a whole lot to it. The only real strategy or tactics that went on was early on with that queen, putting him in check, realizing that I could either potentially get a checkmate depending on where he moved his king, or make him bounce around, waste some time, take a piece, trade queens, simplify the board. That was really the only sort of fancy play. Everything else was very standard and just playing no mistake chess. I've gotten a lot better at playing no mistake chess. That was really always my downfall when I was playing a lot competitively at tournaments, was that I would always blunder something and lose games I should never lose. And I guess part of that maybe is because over the board games are played with a clock, and that messes with me. But playing on the computer, I don't have a clock, so it's made a world of difference for me. And here we are, standing atop another game that was pretty comfortable from the start. So thank you all for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I can't wait to catch you later. Take it easy, everybody. Peace.